and the Senate in terms of the reconciliation process.
Fair enough. I want to ask you a final question. This is not top of the news, but it's top of mind for uh, anyone who cares about the issues of racial justice and where the country's going. You've been a longtime advocate for criminal justice reform. And I want to ask you, as you look toward this new Congress, what's on your agenda? What new ideas do you have for ways to make our criminal justice system fairer, more equitable, to deliver on the promise of racial justice for all Americans?
Well, thank you so much for asking that question. This is an incredibly important area that I know will be a priority of the Biden administration. The president, as well as Vice President Harris, have indicated that over the last several months and continue to make clear through their administration that this is something that we need to look at. And the good news is that criminal justice reform is incredibly bipartisan. We were able to put together a coalition connected to the First Step Act to strike an initial blow against mass incarceration in the United States of America, both in the context of prison reform and increasing the likelihood that currently incarcerated individuals upon release can successfully reenter society. That's good for them, that's good for their families, the communities they return to, and it's good for the taxpayer by dramatically reducing recidivism. And also with respect to sentencing reform, where we took some steps in the First Step Act to improve the fairness and equity and justice of our laws, many of which were connected to the failed war on drugs. But we called it a first step for a reason because it was just foundational. And so I'm looking forward to working closely with the Biden administration, Democrats and Republicans in both the House and the Senate, and bringing back the same coalition that supported the First Step Act, which included the NAACP, as well as the Koch brothers, the ACLU, as well as the Heritage Foundation, advocates on the left and advocates on the right, folks like Rover Norquist and others who supported the First Step Back in criminal justice reform, to take a look at the damage that was done by the 94 crime bill, which reached into the states and now, in part as a result of the 94 crime bill and other things that went too far. There are now 2.2 million people incarcerated in America, more than any other nation in the world, disproportionately Black and Latino. That is a stain on our democracy, and we need to tackle it with the fierce urgency of now. And thankfully, there's a bipartisan coalition that exists, I believe, to do just that.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, thank you for giving us a real look inside how the House leadership is looking at all these issues ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we have a full afternoon. My colleague Karen Tumulty will interview Senator Tim Kaine at 2:30, and at 3:30, my colleague Heather Long will interview Raphael Bostic, who is President and Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us.